Hello, here I am again, back at the allotment. It's not been quite as warm as the last few days, but yeah, quite breezy actually today. Still warm enough, but yeah, certainly not the temperatures that we had the other day. So my allotment dram that I've picked today is the Jura, 12 years old. Bit of a classic, really, very widely available, and yeah, really sort of. Let's have a look. I've got it here. This is a lovely sort of golden, deep golden yellow colour, and it's part of quite a big range. The Jura core range is quite big. There's 7 or 8 whiskies in there, and all going in slightly different directions actually, which gives almost something for every sort of flavour profile. But let's have a little taste. Sniff first. It smells quite rich. It's got a nice sweetness there actually. Quite sort of caramel, sort of honeycomb, that type of thing. Let's have a little taste. It's very soft. It's 40%, but it's very sort of almost creamy. It's got a delicious, again, that sort of fudge caramel, honeycomb, a bit like that really hard honeycomb that you get at the fairgrounds sometimes. And then in the background there's some lovely, quite warming, like baking spice, I always call it. It's like cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, that type of thing. And there's also like an earthy bit of sort of quite sweet, sort of soft peat smoke there. And that's because the whiskey is actually, what they've done here is they've actually mixed 2 batches of 12-year-old whiskey together. There's the non-peated, which is what they make most of the year at the distillery. That's gone into bourbon casks. It's then been finished in Oloroso sherry casks. And then there's a smaller pocket of the peated spirit, and they only make this for very short periods at the distillery each year. And then these 2 pockets, both when they've reached 12 years old, are married together by the master blender, who is Richard Patterson, very famous master blender for White and Mackay, who are the owners of Jura. So Jura is an old distillery, 1810. It's been there since, but only really very recently in whiskey terms, the last 10 or 12 years or so, has it really become the popular brand that it is today. It was originally called Small Isles Distillery. It sits on a little bay in Craig House, which is the only village on the island of Jura, and it's quite a difficult place to make whiskey. Everything has to be transported there, and equally everything then has to be transported off. But yeah, it closed in the early 1900s and then was closed for a long time. Early 1960s it was totally rebuilt and then brought back to life. So it's only really these last sort of 60 years or so that it's really been sort of fully operational again after this big long period. And as I say, so White and Mackay took over in the early 90s, and they've really helped to sort of push it, as I say, particularly in the last decade or so, to where it is today, to one of the most popular single malts that there is. So yeah, absolutely lovely, sort of a whiskey that I would almost think of giving some of my sort of non-whiskey friends, if I wanted to show them what a little bit of peat smoke gives, just very sort of subtle but soft and sweet peat smoke there, without being this sort of big acrid sort of quality. So that's pretty much it from today. Hello. Yeah, there's one of my neighbours just walked past there, just as I'm finishing. But it's pretty much it from me today. Quite sort of breezy, blustery day. Haven't really picked anything. I've got these 2 beauties, these 2 artichokes, much bigger than the ones I picked the other day, and they'll be lovely boiled up and with a load of butter on. That's how I like them. So yeah, fantastic. But from me and the Jura 12, have a good evening and a good long weekend. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye bye.